Hello everyone. I'm Vivek Raja, organizer of Azure developer communities in Tamil Nadu, Madurai, Chennai, and Coimbatore. I welcome you to the today's session of. So, um, so, Azure developer community in Tamil Nadu. We have multiple communities which are operating in Tamil Nadu, which is of both Madurai, Chennai, Coimbatore, and various regions of Tamil Nadu like Salem, Trichy, etc. So, so let me discuss like how this Azure developer community came into play. This is an initiative by Confirm Technologies, and they are driving this communities in over 100 cities, and we are around 3,500 members strong. So this whole community event and everything is sponsored by Microsoft Azure. So in Tamil Nadu, we have I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So in Tamil Nadu, we have around 12 communities. So which are like Tanjore, Chennai, Madurai, Coimbatore, Erode, Dindigul, Tirupur, Velur, etc. So I handle three cities, which are Chennai, Madurai, and Coimbatore. And we have another organizer called Navini Gopal, who is handling three other cities in Tamil Nadu. So this whole community has so many of benefits, and we do a lot of things here. So what we actually do here is that we host online meetups in various communities across India, and we have like monthly, around weekly events coming up every time in Azure Tamil, and we also have a wide network of beginners, professionals, and experts who are in cloud technologies, etc. And also, as you might be aware of the Azure cloud certifications, we also host like study jams where we help to beginners and professionals to take up certification exams and skill them up with relevant topics. More about that, we are also planning to organize corporate and startup talks where we invite corporate and startups where they use Azure in real time, and we discuss with the architectures and other stuff with their senior members, CEO, and founders. And also, we are planning to host podcasts where we invite guest speakers who can deliver us quite good insights in Azure. And most importantly, we also have a chill time where you host fun contests every week or like in every meetups. So you can also participate in that and contribute your skills and work, which will also have so many of benefits like you can win certification vouchers to take up your exams, or like you can have your Azure passes and so many etc. stuff. So what comes to you in this scenario? So we are like a growing community, and we always do help from the community members. So as you can also be a part of this amazing community by contributing to your in many ways. So if you're interested in doing hosting a podcast, or like if you want to host a meetup, or you want to be a speaker, or you want to be a part of an organizing team where you can drive communities in own cities, or also you can be the core team organizing like meetups in particular communities like us, like Madurai, Coimbatore, Trichy, and other stuff. So this is how we actually do. And if you're interested, please do ping us, and we would like to have you, and we can work it out in your preferred skills and other stuff. A second, I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry, it was echoing in my side, so I had to do it. So I'm sorry for that. I guess like everything is fine right now. And so what I was discussing is that we have an amazing platform for you to come and contribute to us. And you can also be part of this community by hosting podcasts, meetups, speakers, and also like you can also be in the backstage, like where you can participate in study jams or in other contests as well. So we have talked a quite lot bit about the communities, and before going to that, let me show you how we operate in several cities. I'm sorry for okay. So we Azure developer communities are like, as I told, we are driving in over 100 cities. And if you do want to become a community organizer, please do visit the website, which is running in your banner, azdev.confab.com, and you can be a community organizer there. And you can also view the upcoming sessions which are coming up. And as you can see, like there are multiple cities which are like we are driving the communities. And like in Tamil Nadu, we have Chennai, Coimbatore, and other 12 cities which I had discussed earlier. So you can also come and join us, and we can host multiple events and drive this community as a whole. So back to what we have been doing. So let me tell about myself. So I'm Vivek Rajan. So as I told you already, I hail from Madurai, from the state of Tamil Nadu. So currently I'm working as a data scientist at Cortex BCI. It's also called Nextem. So my role in the company is like I handle all the cloud operations, and which is we are working mostly in Azure. So and we do a lot of innovative stuff, which includes brain computer interfaces and so many other things. And I drive the Azure communities in Tamil Nadu in various cities such as Chennai, Coimbatore, and Madurai. And coming to my technical skills, I'm a certified Azure data scientist, AI engineer, and data engineer. And thanks to this lockdown, I utilized my time to upskill my cloud skills. So I have had this cloud interest from my final year of my college, and I started to explore different cloud providers. So when I graduated, I felt like I need to pursue my interest in cloud because I was basically a machine learning enthusiast, and as a machine learning enthusiast, in the end, you do need to deploy your ML models and do other stuff, which obviously leads to cloud solutions. So that's how I took up my journey into the cloud. And with pure interest, like I started to explore so many stuff. I attended conferences, and thanks to Confab, I have also spoken in a couple of conferences and meetups and other stuff, which also helped me a lot in clearing my certifications. So beside Azure, I also have an interest in other cloud providers as well. And I do write a lot of blogs and use cases in that. So I'm also, beside all these technical stuff, I do really love to participate in hackathons, which actually started from my college. So I am a winner of around 20 hackathons, both international and national level. And I've participated in around 60, 70 plus hackathons, probably which I lost the count after a long time. So nowadays, what I do is like I'm not basically a participant, but still like I engage in hackathons by being a mentor. I do guide a lot of teams in their hackathon participation. I do give podcasts and meetups like how to enable your skills in hackathon, how to present your solution, and how to build a proper solution, and so many other things. So if you're interested in hackathons, we can also have a quite a bit of chat and after the session, or you can just ping me in any of the social handles. And I also published 5+ research papers, and I've also filed a patent in which involves AI and IoT. And I'm an active speaker, mentor, and blogger and open source contributor. And you can reach out to me in my social handles and Twitter, which is at vivekraja007, and you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn, which is vivek0712. So I do really love to write blogs, and the main there are two reasons. One is I love exploring new things, and secondly, I love to solve real-time problems with the new technology which I'm currently learning. So this skill actually developed from the hackathon session. And while exploring Azure, like I came up with a lot of stuff, which is during the lockdown, where I built end-to-end COVID-19 forecast model using Azure ML. So it's completely on machine learning, which is hosted in Azure. And one of my recent projects, which actually drove a lot of attention and contribution from a lot of developers and literature people, is that literature text translation and audio synthesis using Azure Cognitive Services. So basically, you can have your literature text like Tirkural, Aatichudi, or any other classic literatures from other languages like French, etc., to get it translated in your own preferred language and read out in your preferred language, as well as it also generates the audiobook for that. And everything is achieved through Azure. And one of my very recent project, which I came up with last week, is that due to we have been experiencing the second wave of COVID, I wanted to keep myself aware of the current status of what is really happening. So I created a newsletter which will send me the details every 6 p.m. in the evening, and that will actually, I'm sorry, and that will actually help me to get updated the status. So I can, these are the links. You can just check out my links in my deck. The deck will be actually uploaded in the GitHub profile. I will later give on you the instructions how to access all the deck and other stuff in GitHub. So these are my blogging handles, where I primarily write my blogs in Vivek 98 at Medium. And also I started writing my blog in Dev. You can also check it out as well. So we had an amazing intro about how we explore and evolve as a community in Azure in all over the India, and how we actually drive and we plan to intend to drive communities in Tamil Nadu, which I spoke about how we will be inviting experts, organizing podcasts, and also connecting fun contests, and also we'll have study jams and lots of more fun and upskilling. So with these all, like how we drive as community, it's time to jump into the session here. So the session today and is a month, and the theme of the April month in Azure, so which is containers. So I wanted to give a brief introduction about containers, but when I noticed, like when I spoke to a lot of developers who are beginners or like just who started to work into industries, or people who are like having a good experience in the web development and cloud, but still have a little bit difficulties in a few topics. And one such which I usually hear about is containers. So I have structured this presentation in such a way that if you're a beginner or if you're an expert, I guess I will be able to reach out to you with very simple terms. And in the end, we'll be like also having a small demo where you can also log in and practice as well. So the first question, so as the title suggests us, getting started with containers. So what will be the first question in your mind? That is, what are containers? Yes. So a literal translation would say what is in the image, what we are having right now. But in the whole, in the perspective of cloud or in the development or in the software field, what do really containers mean and what they do actually? So container is a solution. So it's a solution for deploying environments and simplifying software development process. So it's actually a solution which will help us fast track the deployments of environment and also the process of it. And also, it also helps us to convert monolith applications into service-based applications. So right now, I guess like I would have like felt a little bit rude or harsh. Like I have just thrown a lot of unknown familiar terms to you. So let's try to break it down as simple as possible so that we can understand the same. So even if you are a beginner who never had an experience of any development in software, you can still able to know the process of how we actually do, which will also help you in your future. So we had mentioned something called a monolith application, and which will convert that to uh, right? So with the term service-based application really means microservices. So there is another new term called microservices here. So let's try to do what we understand that. So microservices and containers actually go hand in hand. So if you're touching the topic of container, you can never ever skip microservices. So we'll be discussing amazing use cases and examples here, which you'll be using every single day. So how many of you like here have a habit of listening music in Spotify? You can just drop in comments. And do you have like how long you have been hearing, and what is your favorite playlist, and what do you have you really heard of you of Spotify? Let's see like what you say in the comments. So yeah, I'm getting a couple of answers that you do use Spotify to listen music. So which is really good. So which will be I will be able to explain what Spotify really does. So if you log into Spotify, if you use a Spotify app, you will actually see a lot of things. Your primary action is to go and select a music and listen to it. But what really happens and what are the components do we really have there? So there is something called search engine where you go and search for a particular playlist or a music. So actually people are dropping in like that's your favorite app, and let's see like how the microservices really come into play into the picture here. So the first thing is like you might have really experience of searching your music, like maybe an artist, or maybe search for a particular part of lyrics, or even the title of the song. But still you will be able to get something from your search results. So search engine is one of the module they use there. And second thing is like the recommendation engine. So once you start listening to Spotify for a couple of days or months or weeks, you will start and suggestions and recommendations from Spotify to listen to your favorite genre. So that's why that's where the recommendation engine comes in. So actually I'm pretty much noticing like many of you people have been listening to Spotify while you code, which is really amazing, which even I do actually. And your third biggest module, which is primary module, is music player. So whatever sound you're choosing, you must play. And the fourth thing is like a playlist generation where you can add multiple songs. And finally, like the overall thing is where you have user accounts and maintenance. So let's all keep this in mind, and let's jump on to your another basic example. So can you identify what we are like talking about in this example? You can drop in comments, which is very much familiar, and we might be using at least every single day. So do you know like what is this? Yeah, of course it's Flipkart. And do you guys? I'm not like favoring any companies or e-commerce site, but just I just picked out in a random which I can do that. So Flipkart is where you can buy and shop so many products of various stuff. So yeah, there are many people who are commenting like I do shop regularly in Flipkart. So do mine. So I do sometimes have a shopaholic where if I start shopping, I do continuously shop for a very particular period of time until I restrict myself not to shop. So yeah, in the Flipkart, let's discuss what modules do we have there. So if you have your mobile right now, you can just go and turn it off. Let me, I will also have my mobile right now. So I haven't turned my camera on, but let's just check. So in the Flipkart, uh, so let me turn my camera on, which might be a good way to proceed here. So I'm sorry. Okay, let's proceed with the previous one. Let's not confuse. So actually, I'm opening my Flipkart app right now in my mobile, and what I primarily see now is a search bar where I can search for products, brands, and more. Do you guys also see? Yeah. And you also got like while you keep shopping or buying products, you always have something called recommendation engine, where like these products were brought together, or this product was bought when you buy these kind of products. So this is called a recommendation engine. Let's not care about what they really do use, like they use machine learning or something. Let's not care about it, but let's see what they really actually have in modules. So, and next one is like the price tag. It shows like you might get a different, and each seller has their own price their products in different ways based on the discounts and other stuff. So I can actually add my products to the shopping cart, and I can check out, pay bills. So payment is also one of the biggest module there. So these are some sort of modules which we use in Flipkart, right? So third one is one of your favorite apps, so which is Uber. So Uber is actually, as everyone might know about it. So actually, people use Ghana for Spotify. Okay, that's I'm not going to like. Anyway, Ghana uses similar approaches as Spotify. Like you can just term it as the domain, like any song playing apps, or like for Flipkart, you can just assume that any e-commerce website. And for Uber, let's assume like any cab sharing or cab hiring app. So when it comes to Uber, the cab hiring app, so what do we actually do there? So from the user point of view, we actually give a source, so which is our current location probably, and we have a destination where we actually go to the particular place there. So we actually needs to be dropped somewhere. So third thing is like we check out what vehicle do I really need to use. So do I need to use an auto, or do I need to use a cab? So when it comes to car, which should I choose a low, or should I choose an SUV or something like that? You have a multiple options to choose there. So this is how it really goes. So assume like you have just booked a taxi from, I'm right now in Madurai. So I have booked from my home to Meenakshi Amman temple. So what really happens in the back end right now? So you'll get assigned to a particular driver. You will get a fair calculation of how much you will actually get when you travel from one spot to another. So it depends on various factors, like as you would have known, like it might be depending on things like rain, weather, or like the traffic, and so many others. So and also it chooses the optimized route to travel from one location to another, and we can also ride. We can also track the ride while we go and after finishing the ride as well. And we do have like something called chat and support, where in emergency we can also support the chat, contact the support team there. So actually we discuss a lot of modules from each different popular apps we have in the market. So now let's come back to the domain, what we were discussing. So we were actually discussing about microservices, right? So imagine what would happen if, let's assume like your price tag, like when you're searching for a product in Flipkart, your price tag didn't get displayed. What really happens there? So does that really stop the process of you from shopping? It does, but it does not completely shut down the app, right? You can still go and search for other products, though your price tag is not generated. Or you can even go and visit your shopping cart, or you can just check out the cart while you have there. So even though, so this is the main point which I'm coming to. So even though you have multiple services in a particular application, and even if one application or like in a multiple features and modules in a particular application, even if one module or feature stops, it does not hamper the entire application. There's still, there are many services which run independently of other services there. So that's where your microservices jumps into action. So each module, you can assume that it's a microservice which is running very independently. So if a microservice is running independently, and if something else fails from outside, the microservice remains unaffected and it runs. So that's the whole concept of microservices there. So now comes the question, why do we have containers and microservices? Answer is very simple. You host your microservices in a container. That's it. So all these applications, let's just go back. So you have Spotify, where it has multiple modules of music player, search engine. You have your Flipkart, and you have your Uber, where it does the route calculation. Even if your map does not display while you're traveling, it doesn't really affect your whole application, right? So this is where your microservices comes into play, where each service runs very independently and it does not hamper the effect of other services. And each service, when it comes to containers, are hosted. Each service microservices is hosted in a container. So that's it. Like now we understood like why people does not generate a one, but develop a combination of multiple microservices hosted on containers, and we manage the containers so that we'll be able to handle all operation very smoothly, and also check on which component or which container or which microservice is failing at a particular time. So actually, this is the whole idea of containers and microservices. And let's now jump into like what really happens there. So we got a question like, is the stream about app development? Actually, it is not about app development, but it involves like what really happens during your app development, where like how to host your app. Like imagine like we all know like how to develop a simple app, or like even if you're learning, that's okay. But imagine like if you want to host, or if you want to like you're developing an app and you want to put that in your Play Store or Apple Store or whatsoever, you actually follow a lot of process there. And to assist your process of development and production, this is where your containers comes into play. So I guess like those three scenarios where I explained like how these microservices and containers play hand in hand actually comes into play. So actually this analogy was actually came to me in one meetup. Like I attended one of the meetups of Vivek Sridhar. I guess it was back when during the last months of 2019, I guess. But so in that we were like discussing about Kubernetes containers and a lot of stuff, and this was the analogy which came up, Vivek Sridhar came up with. So actually I connect a lot of with that analogy, which made me understand containers and cloud a lot better. So I hope so like this analogy actually helps you to understand this whole scenarios of what is containers and why microservices come into play and what you actually do with the containers. So what really happens during a product development? So imagine a company is developing an e-commerce website or something else. So first, the code, the people understand the requirements and do all the development. So development needs an environment to develop. So your development team has a development environment, and operations is a team where actually they have the in charge and roles and responsibilities of hosting that particular uh, and arranging all the environments, creating and hosting it in particular servers or etc. So actually there is a new another team called QA who actually do the quality analysis of how well the coding comes, where we have the testing and lots of other stuff. So QA team has their own separate environment. And while the app has like succeeded all the development and they have like passed all the test and QA process, now comes to the pre-production where we usually call it as a beta product, and it's launched. So while it's launching, like we use a different environment which is different from development, because in the production there will be a lot of users and we'll be like using a different environment which can support that large number of users. So that's called pre-production. And when the app is finally released of all features included, so that's called the production environment. So now comes to the roles and responsibility of operations. They have to create so many environments for development, QA team, pre-production and production. And when it comes to the development, we need to install necessary packages, maintain their versions, and also like it applies for the other stuff as well. And each team's requirement might change. So development might need a good service to develop code and test, while a QA team needs to have a good minimum servers to test the existing code products. And pre-production must have a very good hardware and support because they are like launching to many users. And when it comes to production, we'll be like actually using multiple production levels. So this is where like we'll have multiple products. So this all the configuring of the deployment of environments is where your containers comes into handy. So you might really now understand the first point where we try to analyze like a solution for creating and configuring deployment environments. So and simplify the software deployment process. So your software deployment process is where you have development, QA, pre-production, and production, right? So we are simplifying the process by creating the containers. So you know like what all features do we host in a particular containers? We had discussed about in microservices, and now comes a challenges like why a container, or like while developing a particular app. Let's keep it in a single generic way. So you have multiple environment, and it's your responsibility. Let's assume like you work in a startup or a company, and you hold all the operations of cloud or something. So you're responsible for managing all the hosting environments, which includes either pre-production or production, and so many of that. And also a continuity in software delivery. So what does that means? Like you actually undergo several software processes, which is like development to QA and other stuff. So you need to have a continuity of in software delivery, and even after the production, which also includes your maintenance and bug fixing and lot, etc. So efficient use of hardware. So each environment might require different hardware, and we need to efficiently use our hardware. And one is another is application portability, where you can port your application from one environment to another. So these all are like solved using containers. So the solution for the entire challenges we are facing right now, and containers will be the answer for it. So now like we understood like what are containers, and why do we use containers, and what all applications actually have microservices, and how microservices are related to containers, and how does it really solve the problems of many like delivery, hardware, and so on. So as you let's now whenever like I'm talking to you about containers, you can just keep in mind of the modules and features which we discussed in the example where we had Spotify, Uber, and Flipkart. Like you can just keep relating to that. So actually a container is a loosely isolated environment. Yeah, of course, like you have a isolated environment which is unaffected and runs separately from other services. So where we have to build and run software packages. So each module has separate packages and terminologies. Like so for recommendation engines, we have AI packages needs to be installed, and for other development, we need different stuff. So a container is where like you loosely isolate a particular service, and you have that particular software packages installed in that. So that software package is actually called a container image. So the best feature of this container image is that you can reuse, and that container image is actually responsible for you to create a computing environment in whatever things you're creating. So imagine I have created a software package, a container image in a particular container for my food tracking app. Okay, so it can be like anything, like I'm a food delivery app. So let's assume like I'm doing where the user is placing their order. So that module is I'm creating the module, and I'm use a container to containerize that particular feature there. So I'm using a container image, and if I'm like porting that, once my development is done, I'm porting that to QA. I can just pass the container image where they can recreate the entire environment for that without actually have to install it from the beginning. So it automates all the stuff. So what is containers software containerization? So if your container is running and you're installing some software packages in it, below that you have something to need to install for that. So you need to have an OS where you need to install the particular packages, right? So containers actually does the OS visualization method where we can like deploy and run the containers. And the best part is like we use containers that can run on physical hardware or in the cloud VMs. So it actually like omits a process of kernels like VMs, and it actually interacts with the whole kernel in the physical hardware when it comes to local, or when it comes to cloud, we can just deploy it in your VM on multiple OS like Linux, Windows, etc. So now that we have understood like what is a container and how are microservices hosted in a container, and what are the components of a container, like you have software packages, which is like the container image. And let's assume like as we have like, let's take Flipkart again. So you have built a container image, and you have hosted, you have done all the coding part for your all the features like recommendation, search, payment, and product, and everything. So you have like containerized all the separate modules. Now you have a lot of containers, and you need to like monitor a lot of things, right? So you need something for a tool to manage all the containers, right? And to develop and to like ship all the containers from one thing. So that's where your container Dockers comes into play. So Docker is a platform which is used to develop, ship, and run containers. So you have multiple containers to handle, and that's where Docker comes into play and solves your problem. So let's what actually Docker really has is that, so we have containers here. So the containers will actually the images we have, and the images can be either like Windows or Linux. So that's where you install your software packages. So the Docker server actually interacts with all the containers you have hosted there. So so actually we have I'm sorry. Actually you have so I'm sorry, like the pen. So you have multiple containers. So you can create whatever coding packages, and you are like installing into the containers. And these containers are actually your Linux or Windows or any other image or NGX. So when you have multiple containers, you use Docker to manage all the containers. So that's where the Docker server comes into play, which handles all the containers we have. So we need to like manage the containers where the server is taking part all the time. So how do we interact with the server? So I like obviously we need a client. So the Docker client is where we interact with the server, and in turn we manage the containers there. So the Docker client can be like anything, like it might be your Docker desktop, or it can be like anything, like it can be your Azure cloud shell or anything. And these cloud hub is where like you have this where this Docker server interacts with. So that's your base OS or something. So this is how your Docker really works. uh, if you have any doubt like regarding like the architecture, or like if you never like if you couldn't get through the examples or the analogies, you can just ping me. Like we can also have a small talk on that. You can just ping me on the chat, which can actually help us with the questions in the later part of the. So now let's consider Azure. So uh, the implementation of Dockers and everything we have, for that we have in Azure called Azure Container Instances. And what is the specialty of like container instances in Azure? So it actually launches containers in seconds. Like we'll be actually like doing the demo, and you can see how fast we can create a container. So it has a persistent storage, because you can share the files between the storage, and I can retrieve the persistent state, and you are built according to the time which where the container is running, how many times. And also you can actually specify the size of the CPU of the memory. So imagine like if you are developing a feature which requires a high compute, so you can go on and specify whatever compute power you want to have. So that's where like we have different compute size and cores and memory, and that's where Azure comes into play, and we can host it in any compute service we want. And actually like the containers can be images, can be in either in Linux or Windows, and you can schedule them both using same API. So we can manage everything in single portal. So now that we have talked a lot and lot of stuff, I'm sure like I might have bored few of you people, but I hope so. Like now it's time to hop into demo and see actually what is like really container has to do with all the stuff. So you really now understood the plot where you really host a microservice, or how do you host a microservice, and what really constitute a microservice, and how do containers and microservice interact with each other, and what all the components of containers, which is container image. And when you develop so many containers, how do you manage them, and which is using Docker. And we are now seeing about like how we can create a container image instances in Azure. So let's now hop into this one. So now I'm going to my Azure portal. So I'm going to sign in to my official account. So if you do not have an account, you can just go to search for Azure account free. You can get a free account of $200, or like you can start with 12 months of free services. All you got to do is just give your email IDs and necessary information, and you can just get $200 plus 12 hours of 12 months of free popular services. So once you create an Azure account, or if you do have an Azure account, sign in. So what you have to do is now we're going to create a container instance. So go over there and search for container instance. So we got the image which we actually looked upon, right? So which is like a cloud where we have a container which is pushed in the upward direction. So that's our container images. So we have gone into the portal. So we have discussed so much of theory, and you might have really thought like, how do I need to create these complicated things? Let me show you the whole creation process takes only a couple of minutes, seconds. I would like only a couple of a minute or two. So go to create container instances, click on that. It takes to your portal. So you have to give your subscription, and which it might be your free subscription if you're using a free account, or if you're using any free passes, or like if you have your own subscription, select it. And next one is a resource group. A resource group is actually a logical separation of many things. So now I can just create a new resource group, or I can just select the one you already have. So I'm just selecting a one which I already created. Now let's give a name for a container. So today is like Azure Tamil Nadu, which is like TN demo. So this is my container name. And now like I can like now comes to the image, which like we discuss about the container and we discuss about the image. And image is where we actually install so many software packages, right? So Azure really gives us a head start by already creating few of the quick start images. So which might be like an hello world, which we'll be using for the particular this one demo, or you can go for your Nginx, Linux, or you can go for Nginx, or you can go for Windows image. So which is like a base head start for that. Or if you already have a familiarity of creating your own image or using a Docker file, you can just create it and push into your container registry. So actually, we are not going to discuss about that in today's session, but we are going to be exploring a lot more in upcoming sessions. We'll be discussing on that actually. So if you do have an image in your account in your container registry, a container registry is nothing but a collection of all container images in a particular repo. So you can just select a repo. We actually have multiple repos and registries here. So you can select one and you can go ahead. Or if you have a Docker hub, you can just paste your Docker image directly and you can just get started with it. So now we are going to use a demo purpose image where we are using quick start images. I'm using a hello world there. So as if you can recall, like I have said, like one of the primary benefits of using Azure is that you can go and can specify the size of your CPU compute and everything. So since this is a very simple and example, I'm just going to use one CPU, and only I'm going to use 0.5 GPU. Let's go with the default. So 1.5 GPU of data. I don't want any GPU for this one, so I'm selecting this. So next, go to the networking. So if you want to see how your container, like once your container is deployed, if you want to get a look at it, so you have to give a name. So the name can be like Vivek. It can be anything like of Vivek AZ. So Vivek AZ is the name of the DNS, and this is the image of the rest of the DNS full name. So other things, if you're like new, can just skip it. It's not much of a detail, and actually Azure does everything for you. So once that is done, I can just simply create a container there. So there was one of the benefits, like the container actually gets deployed in a couple of seconds, or it takes only a minute or two. So while you're creating a container, you will get a notification like your deployment is in process, and we get to see about like how the deployment is going on. So it shows like it's still in progress. If you want to cancel, go ahead, you can cancel. It's not, we're not going to do that now. So now let's just wait for a container to spin up. So it will take up a couple of seconds. Let's wait for that. So until now, like just discuss, like this is a Linux container of a very simple example. So it got created in a couple of seconds. So let's go to the resource. So in the resource, like we see like the containers created, and you can go and take a look at the containers there. So let's not worry about those. So if we have a hello world program which is running in a particular container, and this is a URL for that fully qualified domain name. So I'm pasting that and I'm showing you. So welcome to container instances. This is actually a program which is running in your container hosted in your Azure. So we had seen a lot of theory concepts, which is like quite complicated, but Azure takes really all the hard, heavy lifting for you, and it provides a very beautiful portal and your UI just to create your container instances in a couple of seconds. So now let's just get back to our presentation. So yeah, the demo actually like completed in a couple of minutes. Like we ran a particular application in a container which is hosted in Azure, which is simply awesome, right? So for those who are not like present in this particular meetup, you are actually the recording of the video will be available always, and we can just follow these tutorial steps to get started with your creation of your container. So we can just even recall it. So first you have to create your Azure account. Go to your sorry, this is spelling mistake. There, go to your search bar in your portal and search as container instances. Click create container instances and give the relevant details of your name, resource group, and select your container image. It can be either of your quick start, which is predefined by your Azure, or you can build your own. You can select your own image, container image. And in the networking, give the DNS name of your container. That is, which was our Vivek, right? Vivek underscore AZ, I guess. So next one is your click review and create. And last, like we have seen our website running on a container once that deployment is done. So it just got done in 8 simple steps. So if you're following this as a hands-on tutorial along with me, like congrats, you have also created your first Azure container instance. So that's how it really works, simple as that. So now it's time to look for the questions. So right now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I will now look into the question answers we have it coming along. I'm sorry, just give me a second so that I can go back. So welcome back. Now the presentation is done. Now it's time to look into the question and answers now. So we got a lot of people who are through the presentation. So thanks for those lovely comments there. Actually, I noticed that you actually loved discussing about the apps which you were using. So I actually saw a lot of comments on that. Thanks for that. So many have been saying that you use Spotify while you code, which is good, which is also I do actually. So what we actually do in this development is like, are we doing that? There's a question from, I'm sorry, the stream. Actually, what I can just rephrase your question, like, is this stream is about app development? So I would say like it's a process of one of your process of your app development. So once your development is done, you have to host it somewhere, right? So when it comes to big applications, you have to follow a particular software services and practices where you have to host so that your application does not break down at any point of time. So this is where your deployment part comes into play. And for the deployment, we have discussed about how the containers help us doing that. So thanks for the question, Tamil Mani, and Vishwas actually helped us answering that question. So thanks, Vishwas. So we have a question from Guru Pranesh Krishnan. So I'm sorry, Guru Pranesh Krishnan. So welcome to thanks for coming into the meetup. So let's see. If I understand correctly, container instances is the image where the container daemon run. Yes, absolutely. So we create in the container instances, we create an image and we just host and your container registry has a multiple I mean your multiple images for your containers there. So it's a repo of collection of stuff. So from the Docker, you can manage, have a client. Azure client actually has that. So you can just list down your containers, view the health of your each containers which is hosted, and you can work on it separately. So thank you for your question. If I have answered it right, it's well and good. But or else, like if you have to have a good discussion about it a little bit later, we can catch it off the stream. So we have a question from you have showed us the container. Can you also show us Docker? So as of now, I can provide you the documentations to. We have discussed about the Docker architecture and stuff. So let me like create give you the samples where you can try. And also, since this is a very introductory session on containers and Docker, so we have planned it in N-part series where we'll be actually using Dockers, and we'll be having a hands-on on how to use the Docker so far. So we'll have a very elaborate session on that, and we have multiple experts coming in your later session. So please tune in. And meanwhile, you can also go and check it out your sessions and Microsoft Learn. I can provide you all the documentation there. We can also have a discussion in your our community, like you can post your questions there. And in the next session, we'll be discussing on elaborately on how to use that Dockers for managing the containers there. So Docker is one way, and Kubernetes is a way place we actually manage all the containers. It's one such way. And thanks, Vishwas, again. So the demo app that you showed to us, can you share it with others? Can it be shared with the people in different tenant, or it can be shared within the same tenant? That's a good question, this one. So now just we need to understand what is the scope of the container we had just created. So let's go back to our container image. So we have a subscription ID, we have an IP address which is public. So when it comes to a public IP address which has been exposed, like we can have it can be interacted from the container. So all you have to do is like connect. You can just do an SSH or do a bin, and you can just connect, and you can just start interacting with the container. And it can be shared within a particular tenant, because it's let's again check out the properties and the level of scope for that. So I'm sorry, like I haven't shared my screen, but still, okay, let me just explain. So we have one container, and we can see that the IP address is like is public. So you can just go and interact with the container using SSH because you have a public IP to interact with, and you can actually restrict the access of the containers in a particular Azure using IAMs. So you can assign IAMs roles to different people in your Azure account, which will actually restrict their access to the particular resource there. So which means like they can only view, or they can work on it and do other stuff. So I hope that actually answered your question. So let's move to the next question there. Sorry. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. Thanks for the lovely comment, Vijay Bharati. Where can we use Docker? So as I had mentioned, like the container is like the static part for this N part series on this one. So Dockers are actually used to manage all the containers. So actually, I'm going to give a lot of things about the Dockers. Like we'll be actually having that in our future sessions. That's why I haven't covered it in today. We'll be like hosting the next session, and next month we'll be discussing elaborately on Docker, since I feel like the containers are like very an exotic or like alien concept for many of us, including me. So actually, when it comes to a cloud deployment, and many people are just now beginners, that's where like we have people coming in. So we are going to just stop with containers in this session. Uh, so what are it's not actually IIM, it's IAM, which means Identity Access Management. So every cloud provider actually has an access management where they can restrict the access of the users in a particular cloud. So it's IAM, which is Identity Access Management. So let's go back to our presentation. Let me share my screen again. So we have a couple of things left, which is actually includes the fun contest, right? Which I have also mentioned in the handles and everywhere. So let me share my screen again. So can you see my screen? Hopefully, yeah, perfect. So what are the next steps? Actually, I guess like many questions were like about the Dockers and how we are actually want to make up it. So this is where our GitHub samples and Microsoft Learn parts comes into play. So everything is like we have the Azure community of Tamil Nadu maintains a special repo which has all the necessary presentation decks and everything. You can I will give the link there, and where you can just go and check it out and start your Microsoft Learn parts. And to guide to our next meetup, where we'll be discussing elaborately, we have an expert who is Amijan, who is like working as SDE2 in OLX group. He's like a wizard in DevOps and in the entire solution architect of stuff. Very close friend of mine and a mentor and well-wisher. So we have the next meetup on May 29th. We can also try to organize it a little bit earlier so that we can also keep the touch in play. So the next session will be like jointly presented by Chennai, Coimbatore, Madurai, and we'll be discussing containers and management and so Dockers and so many other things in Azure in next meetup. So this is what we were like. Many of you pinged me personally about what is a contest and how you can be a part of it, and how you can be interact, win prizes through your contest. So actually, before any contest is nothing but won't be much interesting if you don't have a prize to grab, right? So the winners actually will have a guaranteed prize, which is unknown, which is cannot be revealed for now, which might include your passes or for Azure to work on it, or you can be your stuff in your certification vouchers, so many other things. So we'll actually reach out to the winners a little bit. So the rules and regulations of the contest is actually you have to write a blog on anything related to Microsoft Azure. So, so to help you with these stuff, what you have to do is go, as I said, go to Microsoft Learn. You have hundreds of documentations on how to become to learn something. So today's session was on containers. So if you want to do write a particular thing, even you can just write your feedback as a blog on your container. So this is where your Docker container comes into play. We'll be actually elaborately discussing on how these really work in Azure. So you can also check on that. So this link will be actually provided in the GitHub profile. I will share the GitHub link a little bit later. You can also search on that. And this is like the actual the container instance. This actually uses your CLI, but we use the portal for much more easier access. So you can check out the board documentation for more clear purposes. And this is actually you can also check on other things like if you're interested in AI, ML, machine learning, you can just go and check it out on your machine learning stuff. You can just learn something and write a small stuff on a blog. It can be either in your Medium or any other blogging service. And once you're done with your blog, what you have to do is like post it in LinkedIn or Twitter, and you have to tag AZ India, so which is the official handle of Azure Developer Community. Or you can tag me, which is Vivek Raja 007, or you can just ping me in personally in any other meetups profile or in LinkedIn or Twitter, or you can use a hashtag AZDevIndia. So the best blogs actually will get featured in weekly newsletter of our meetup. So as the meetup of Tamil Nadu, we have several cities and we have around over around 350 to 400 members. So your blog will be featured in the weekly newsletter of your meetups. And the best blog will actually receive a prize, which is preferably a Microsoft Azure Pass. And if the best blog will also might have a chance to get featured in the official Microsoft newsletter based on your how well the blog is written. So this is our first contest, and this contest will be live from today now onwards to next month. Actually, till the next meetup. For any help on even writing your blog, we are always here to help. So you can just ping us anytime. So I was telling about like all the documentations will be available in our GitHub. So what actually we had did is that I have created a repository where we'll be hosting everything there. So if you have actually missed any meetups, you can just check on our meetup profile, or you can just come to our GitHub where we'll have all the presentation decks of the speaker, the YouTube link or where the presentation was held, and all the documentation and necessary stuff. And what's the stats of every meetup, like how many people are registered for the meetup and how people showed up and what was the peak time. And we want to be as transparent as thing, because I actually feel that actually helps us with the growth. And if you want to start any open source project, so we are actually here to help us. You have to just create a repo, fork us, and also or else add us as contributors. And as a community where we have experts and professionals, we'll also help you to work on your open source project. And if you're like planning to write your certifications in Azure, and if you're in need of any study resources or like any courses are available, we'll be constantly updating that in our GitHub profile. And also we can also write the code. If you want any code repos for your blogs, we'll keep updating, so you can just pick it up. Or if you just have some good cool memes, or if you want to have chit chat, you can just drop it in the random repo as well. So let me show you the repo there. So what you have to do is let me copy paste the link. I'm sorry. So what you have to do is like go to this repo. You will find let me log in. So go to GitHub and you have to search for my name. So actually it's Vivek 0712. So we have an user of that. So I'm Vivek Raja. So Vivek 0712 comes to my repo, and this is my stats. So in the print profile, you can find something called azdev_tn. So go to this repo. This is where like we have the entire stuff for our communities. So we have two organizations, which is Mai and Navneet, who's handling different cities across Tamil Nadu, which is powered by Confirm and sponsored by Microsoft. So in today's event, my PPT is available even right now, and I'll be updating the relevant documentations where you can go and have a look at it. And since you have many people had a query on like wanted to have a demo on Dockers, but still I was not able to provide it because I was planning on different end sessions to accommodate beginners in this session as well. So we'll have a very good discussion on the next session, which will be probably hosted by me, because we'll have a good discussion on the Dockers before going to Amazon probably. I'll also update the necessary documentations where we also have. Each meetup will have the details of the event and about the speaker and about where the event was hosted, which is like the Chennai event. So Chennai meet community of Azure community. So you can, if you're not even registered, you can just go and RSVP to join our community there. Besides meetups, we have other stuff which I already discussed with you. So we have podcasts. Like if you're interested in doing podcasts, ping us. Like if you want to host any podcast or get featured in a podcast. And in Startup Spotlight, we'll be actually inviting corporates and startups to discuss on their Azure usage in their companies. And Certificate Study Jam is where like we'll be actually posting relevant study materials, and even we'll be updating on free vouchers, and also a place where you can find all the relevant documentations to prepare for your certifications. And blog is where like your blogs will get featured. Even your contest blog will get featured so all the blogs by your community will get featured here. So these are my three discussed in the earlier session. You can just go and take a look at it. And the contest. So all the contests which will be held periodically. This is the first contest where we have a blocking contest, and you have to just write anything about Azure, like anything, literally anything. Even creating a new account is acceptable. Anything which involves Azure. So you can just tag us and have us keep in loop, and we will ping you. So if you want to become a part of our team, you can just ping me directly or in the feedback form, which I'll be sharing right now. So sorry, let me just paste it in. So you can just go and fill your feedback in this link, which is bit.ly/ AZDevTN-1. So there we have actually have collected the details of how was the session and the feedback for it. And if you're interested in that, just let me know in the feedback as well. So which will also help us to get connected and move forward. So keep an eye on our GitHub profile where we'll be constantly updating it with many cool stuff. So actually, I haven't featured the memes there, so which will also come up. If we have more members, if you are interested in memes, we can also have a chill stream as well. So this is Azure Developer Community, and we are representing Tamil Nadu. And you can actually find us, or you can find your nearest community in azdev.confirm.com. It is rolling. It is also listed in the banner in the YouTube video. And you can find us in the official website, which is azdev.confirm.com, or you can find us in the Meetup, Twitter handles, or LinkedIn. So for the feedback, you can just fill that, which is pasted in the YouTube comment. Or if you want to be part of our organizer team where you have to drive a separate community, or if you want to become a core team of our existing communities, you can just ping me and we will take a note of it, and I will ping you back as soon as possible. Or if you have a mobile phone, just scan the QR code and which will help you to take you to the feedback form. So we have I have a particular questions on people who are like to make an end-to-end session. So Guru Pranash, so actually what is our intention was this session is a beginner session. We'll be getting started we're only with containers. So again, what I'm trying to mention is that, so I have structured this session so that I can bring in beginners of the Azure as well, or even beginners who are just stepped into coding development, or just understand how those containers work and other stuff. So we have an end part series where we'll be constantly hosting a series on containers and stuff, where we'll be actually discussing on the end-to-end stuff. So since we have now discussed on containers and everyone is on the same side, same chapter, where we have understood like what is really containers and what we really do, how we create a container in Azure. Now it will be a perfect step to everyone to step on the next level, where is to create and manage all the stuff there. So sorry for like your expectations. I was not able to fulfill in this particular session, but since we have planned for a multiple session on containers, I hope like I'll be able to fulfill your expectation there, and we'll be actually driving an end-to-end part there. So thank you for actually bringing up to my attention. Thanks for those lovely comments which is coming up, and thank you Vishwas for like helping me out and managing the questions as well. So since before we end this meetup, like we know like this COVID second wave is like taking a big toll. So keep yourself safe and wash your hands properly using a sanitizer, and cover your mouth with mask, and always like maintain a social distancing, and isolate yourself if you're feeling any symptoms of COVID, and always clean and keep yourself safe. That's how we can prevent, or like we can control the spread of COVID-19. So so thank you. end of today's session. Do fill up the feedback form, or if you're interested in being part of our community, let us know, and we'll be like able to do that in our sessions, in following session. Even if you have something too interesting to talk about, let's plan it out. And thank you for your comments and your questions. I'm sorry if we're not able to pick up few questions. And also, as I've mentioned, like we'll be hosting meetups very soon and in a frequent manner. And also keep an eye on the contest. It's live from today, and you can just write any blog on us and tag Azure Dev, and you'll be eligible for the contest, which will have you have a stand a chance to win some amazing prize. And until then, everyone, stay safe and thank you for joining our session.